So for my research this semester, I looked at the comparative effects of technology and hands-on modeling on high school student performance in a biology classroom. So the problem that I continue to face over and over and over again was students are having difficulty with using their Chromebooks in the classrooms, and even with the mandated implementations that we have been given recently in the classroom, they're still not performing well. So there has been significant deficits in content mastery while still utilizing technology as a primary resource in the classroom. So I'm continuing to see students not doing well, even though they've been given an extra resource to use. So this just goes through some of the literature that I looked at while starting my research. I looked at technology in the classroom. You had some that said that technology was the best thing, that integrated computers in the classroom. They did affect student performance for the better, but then I'm continuing to see that continuing to use them did not affect it, like it made it a little bit worse. So then I looked at hands-on modeling to perform that provided and enhanced student performance, would show that hands-on modeling given. So the methodology behind what I did with quantitative and qualitative data. So for my quantitative data, I looked at pre and post-test data. So students were giving a pre-test to kind of create that baseline, and then they were given a post-test to see if there was any change. I also looked at qualitative data. So as the interventions were being given, I had a behavior checklist that I looked at pre and post intervention surveys for them as well. Because all classes had a different intervention, each class did serve as a control for the other. The participants that I looked at for this were my ninth grade biology students in the Atlanta Public School District here in Georgia. 31.4% do fall below the poverty line. 100% of the students were African American. And then this study was completed in a general education classroom along with 2 collaborative classes. So there was a co-teacher present that did help to serve students with IEPs. And this was also on an alternating day schedule, which means that I saw students every other day. So I saw some students on A day and then another group of students on B day. So some of the threats that I faced were students cheating on the pre and post test, co-teacher mingling, and then students not returning their permission forms. And then I did also face a huge threat with threats to, there were a lot of school-wide events that took place. So I didn't get to see students as much as we needed to because we had huge events such as like map testing and then several lockdown incidents that did impact the amount of times that students were seen, so that there were significant gaps in their learning during those times. So the interventions that I used they were done in 3 separate classes. The first class did only have hands-on modeling items only. So everything they did was strictly paper and pencil, even when it came to interacting with me and how I delivered the information to them. I did not use any type of technology whatsoever. All pictures were printed. We looked at only textbooks and other materials, and then labs were either hands-on labs only or using the textbook.
Are you still there?
Emily,
I lost you for a second.
we couldn't hear you.
Kimesha, are you still there?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay.
I think we lost her.
Yeah, while Kimesha gets reconnected, I'll just kind of sum up what she has here. So,
Okay.
Another class, they did have
there
technology
she is.
only, so I was on.
But she's gone again.
She's gone again. So if she gets back, I'll let her explain. But so she used these three different modalities to teach. And so what happened was she found that the most productive was actually a combination of hands-on modeling and the technology, as opposed to just technology alone, or even just hands-on labs and activities alone. And she did a beautiful data analysis to show that that it was like that. And so hopefully she'll get back on there. There she is.
Yeah.
She's back now.
Okay, my connection just went really bad. I apologize, everyone.
Okay.
It's okay. Are you able to get the screen back up? I can talk about it if you want me to, if you can get the screen back.
Okay, yeah, you can. That's fine.
Okay, or I can put the screen up and you can talk.
Okay.
Okay, hold on just a second. Go ahead and talk about what you did though while I'm getting this pulled up. If you can.
So, okay, so with the interventions as they were going, so all lecturing, especially in the class where there was a combination of both technology use and Chromebook use, all labs, lectures, simulations, and activities, they were assigned using both resources. So if there was a lecture taking place, students were able to have pencil and paper to maybe take their notes, and then I had the box slide up where I would be going through. I was able to show them digital imagery. We were able to look at both. If it was like a digital lab, they would be able to do the lab on the computer and then do their analysis on paper. And you can go to the next slide. So the limitations and things that I faced, especially was the lack of flexibility with the content, the research time frame that I had, school-wide testing events, and then the AB scheduling. So that created a huge limitation and challenge for me because with this an alternation of scheduling, so seeing the students every other day did create that huge gap in learning for them, so that when they would come to class the next day, they were still kind of trying to grasp the information from the class previously. So just to kind of go through the procedure that I did, this was over 6 weeks. So in week 1, I just kind of did a baseline going through the pre-test, the pre-intervention survey. Weeks 2 through 4, that is when the intervention took place. And that's when I did all the behavior monitoring. Week 5, went through and gave students a post-test, did a post-intervention survey. And then during week 6 is when I completed my data analysis. So just to kind of give you guys an insight as to the instrument that I used, there were 2 that I used for the intervention. During the pre-intervention of kind of to see what they thought their best way to learn was, and then they had a pre-test to see where they stood on the information going into the unit. I also then gave them a post-test to see which intervention they participated in, and then do they feel that there was anything that maybe have changed for them based on the intervention that they were given, because it was very different from what we typically do in the classroom. This is also just a quick snapshot of the behavior checklist that I used for them. Some of the behaviors that I looked at were having their head down, sleeping, walking around, using cell phones, leaving the classroom, doing other assignments. So once I was done collecting all of the data, I did look at the total number of behaviors, and I did compare that to the change in the test scores. So for the data analysis, I did look at descriptive statistics, which is used to calculate the means and standard deviations of dependent variables. When comparing the pre-test and post-test data to the pre and post-off-task behaviors, I did use ANCOVA, which is the analysis of covariance. My results showed that the Chromebook and hands-on modeling, they did have the highest mean for assessment data and the lowest off-task behavior mean. So what this meant is that students who were able to use both the Chromebook and hands-on modeling, so they got a combination of both, they did perform better and they had the lower off-task behavior. So they were not, doing things like walking around the classroom when they weren't supposed to, using their cell phone. They were really engaged and focused in the lesson more so other than the other classes. Here you can see just that the main effect of teaching, it was significantly higher with the Chromebook and hands-on modeling versus Chromebook and then hands-on modeling alone. So just some conclusions that I came to was that the combination, even though the literature did say that one was better than the other, I found that the combination of the two did yield the highest content mastery. The off-task behaviors, they were lower with the mean test score. So what that means is on the off-task behaviors, because even though the mean for one with the Chromebook and hands-on modeling was a 65.3, that still isn't passing. So I want to look at more specifically the actual activities that were being done with their assessment scores. So by decreasing the off-task behaviors, I can possibly improve or increase the content mastery. And I really would like to focus this around active learning in the classroom. Thank you. Are there any questions?